All right, now introducing assignment 9. I call it the scale and space assignment because we're using the proximity of our lens and our zoom features and our understanding of lighting and stacked perspective and focus to try to make it look like things that are in different spaces are actually in the same space. Like to make it look like he's doing a handstand on this thing, when in actuality they are separated by a great distance. So we're also manipulating scale. So shooting things that are one size with things that are another size and trying to line them up with our lens and our point of view and our focus and being aware of lighting and directions of lighting and all of that so that they look like they're the same. So it makes the pumpkin look huge or it makes her look tiny. And then we use processing just to tighten it up. So what is the problem with this shot? Well, again, we're going to try to not crop our photos, right? We want to use the native picture frame. But the problem with this shot is her shadow gives it away. Everything from here up makes it look like these are on the same flat plane. And if you get rid of that shadow, that illusion is very strong, that she's touching the light. But the shadow activates the space in between, so it betrays that illusion of space. So we want to be careful of how we frame things, only showing things that help the illusion. Again, the shadow here really distorts it. Everything's perfect in terms of focus and in terms of alignment, and we can't always control outside what the light is doing. So in processing, she just simply moved the shadow, which is a little bit of a cheat, but it's a very effective illusion, right? Here it looks like there are two different spaces. Here it looks like she's balancing on top. So there's lots of ways to get rid of the shadow if that becomes a problem. To shoot at low angles so that the shadow is obscured. But then we have to worry about focus. And for some cameras, this is easier than others. And the hardest problem a lot of you will have is even though you're using a very stopped-down aperture, like an f/16 or an f/20, you have trouble making them focus the exact same. Some cameras are better at it than others. And that's why we don't take this project too seriously. But we do want to understand what goes into the illusion, like the thumb overlapping her leg there, that gives it away. But when we can get the focus right, we can get some really fun images. We can also use these techniques, low angles, forced perspective, actually using macro settings here to make it look like a bigger space, to make little things like these little Lego vehicles look huge. Make them match kind of the human point of view by putting the horizon in the middle. And that's another fun way we can do this project. Putting this toy on campus, that's why props are going to be really helpful next class, to make it look like a full-scale vehicle. Or shooting at a very low angle to make these toys look like they're the size of buildings. Or to show a hand coming in from the side. And this one's quite complicated. It takes a lot of space to do. You have one person holding another person between their arms, and that person between their arms is holding another person between their arms. And the focus is pretty well controlled there, just the lighting's not too convincing. Processing can help. Getting squashed by a flip-flop. Jumping out of a backpack. We're going to work in teams because having people that are kind of actors for you can be helpful. People that will pose for you in exact places. Some of my favorite projects are taking these toys and making them look full size. just hanging a toy from a fishing line, right? Getting some good acting. But that's actually very close to the camera. That's very far away from the camera. They look like they're in the same space. Holding on to the golden arches. So a lot of creativity here. I love this one because it shows real size cars with this toy car, and it finds an angle low to the ground that makes it all match. And the lighting matches, everything matches. Very convincing. This is how a lot of trick photography in movies is done. Now this one I always like to show because it actually looks very, very much like it's photoshopped. But I saw them bring the exposures into their computer, and it was just the peculiar lighting of the day. It was so diffused that there was no shadow at all. And the photographer is able to get very crisp focus with just no shadows underneath. And so it's just uncanny how believable that looks without any processing at all. On and on. Using students to pack a toy car. It takes careful alignment, driving a toy car. So definitely bring some props. Anything that has kind of an associated scale with it. So a purse, we understand that to be a certain size, so it's fun to play with that. You're going to find it difficult. So we're just hoping to get them a mini portfolio of 3, and of those 3, we want one of them to really work out. But maybe you can get more than that. All right, so that's what we will do next class.